بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So, what is this book? Many of you have listened to the promo on it, have maybe seen some of the videos, etc. But this is a genre of literature from the early Muslims that is called Zuhud, right? It's called Zuhud or Raqa'iq. So this would either be books or chapters in books, right? Which are hadiths that are not to do with halal and haram. Things that are not to do with aqidah. It's not to do with seerah. It's to do with things that should change you, change your attitude. So in reality, if you look at the Quran, most of the Quran is raqa'iq. Most of the Quran is think about things, change your attitude, right? When we say softening the heart, what is the opposite of softening one's heart? What is the opposite of that? A hard heart, good. Can a hard can if your heart becomes hard, can it change? No, right? So what we're talking about is you say something, you a quote from the Prophet ﷺ, a quote from the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, an insight, a way of looking at things. You read it and you're like, oh yeah, bro, that makes sense. I think I should change, right? That's what it means, right? Like, I don't think I should care about the dunya that much anymore. I should look at it in a different way. That's the whole point of this genre. That being the case, that being the case, the level of hadiths and the level of authenticity is much lower because in general the Salaf like Imam Ahmad, Abdul Rahman ibn Mahdi, etc. In general they didn't really when it comes to things like this nature, they're kind of easygoing with being very critical of who quotes the hadith and doesn't quote the hadith. So some of the hadiths, when we see the Prophet being quoted in this book, some of them will be sahih, some of them will not be sahih at all. But because of the topic, they don't really care, right? So there's a general thing that you'll find in seerah and in this kind of genre that they basically just accept weak hadiths and it's fine. Because none of these hadiths are going to change halal and haram or aqidah. In seerah, when you read the seerah, there's things in the seerah that are authentic. The whole story is authentic in general. But when you get to the specifics, a lot of the things are like we don't have really any clear evidence for that apart from an early Muslim saying that happened. Right? We don't have like a clear chain of transmission. And we're not going to demand for the same kind of level of rigor because it's the story. It doesn't change halal and haram. Does that make sense? So that's a key concept to have in our mind. Today, we live in a world where everybody is obsessed with, is that hadith sahih? Right? You will be on a group, right? Tell me if you have had this in your life. You're on a group, okay? It's Ramadan, everyone's on this like Iman high, and you share a hadith, and everyone's like, the hadith weak. Who's experienced that? Nobody? Nobody has Iman highs, right? I used to a lot of that, right? Aman, right? Sister Fahmiya, it's happened. And so where is that coming from? Over the last 100 to 200 years, right? You will be there's this hype about weak hadith and sahih hadiths, right? Whereas in reality, our early scholars like Imam Ahmad, like Imam Bukhari, like Abu Dawood, etc., they will use weak hadiths in a nuanced way. They'll either use it as supporting evidence, not primary evidence for halal haram, or they will use it in this kind of thing. So you will even find like in the chapter of Raqa'iq of like in Bukhari or Muslim on this kind of chapter, when you get to these kind of things, even their standards are lower, right? The standards that they use are actually lower because of the content. Okay, because of the content, the standards are lower. Okay, so just be aware of that. we're not going to be talking about who narrates the hadith and is it authentic, is it not authentic. That's just not really an issue. Obviously, if it's fabricated, that's something different. Somebody makes up a lie and says, you know what, I'm going to give an epic khutbah today, right? An amazing story about the Prophet ﷺ. Everybody's going to cry. Like, Habibi, you can't lie about the Prophet ﷺ. There's a big difference between lying about the Prophet ﷺ versus, hey, you know, it is said that he said this. It's narrated by somebody, not 100% sure, but you know. So they have a very different kind of standards, right? And this is not me, not all my teachers. This is the teachers of Imam Bukhari and Muslim, the Imam Ahmad, Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi, the people who made this science of hadith. That's their approach. Okay, so it's important to understand that. Does it make sense? And inshallah, I'll share on the group later on. Maybe somebody could find it. If you go on my YouTube channel, go Fareed Dingle, erroneous methodology with weak hadiths, erroneous methodology, you should find something where I'm talking about a dua in Ramadan, and people are like, oh, this hadith is weak, don't do this dua. And it's like, that's not how Abu Dawood, the hadith master, wrote, you know. Jazakum khair, Aman. You can, it's important to understand that methodology, okay? That's point number one. Point number two, inshallah, we're going to start from where we left off, which was, where's my marker? Which is we're not going to start from the very beginning. Okay. So yeah. So now another thing I want to say about this book is really, really old. Okay. So what you will generally find with really, really old books is, Abdullah Mubarak is like the grand teacher of Imam Bukhari. So these kind of books, they aren't super well edited, right? They're not there. They didn't like say, oh, I'm going to publish this tomorrow and it's going to go to the printing press and it's going to be read by the masses. It's not like that. It's a teacher teaching this kind of topic. Maybe he had a class, okay? And people used to attend that class where he would just narrate to them and then people put it together in one book. So sometimes you'll find is like the topic is a bit odd or it's a kind of like, what's going on here? It's a bit confusing because it's not the way that we're used to seeing reading books today or normal books would be written in classical period of Islam because it's so early. Okay. And so, that kind of happens down there. So I'm going to start from. So we're not going to start from the very beginning. It was all recorded up to most of the way through the book. Let me just go reference here. I want to start here. I'm pretty sure we got past this anyway. Remembering that. Maybe we can go there. Okay, let's start here, inshallah. So we're going to start on 212, inshallah. I believe I've recorded half of this anyway, but it's nice to repeat. And I'm going to start here. So this is on page 126, page 126 of the print. Could I just have some hands raised? Who has the book or who has ordered the book? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So it says chapter on the prohibition of having high expectations. Now, I'm not sure if these titles are actually there in the original work, by the way. So sometimes you'll see that this might be from the translator, right? We'd have to look at the different manuscripts to find out more there. Allahu a'lam. Anyway, so the prohibition of high expectations. What does that mean? Okay, this is called tul al-amal. So having great expectations from Allah, meaning high hopes from Allah, is something good, right? Like you say, inshallah, everything's going to work out amazingly in my life. Okay. If I don't get into college, it's going to be good for me. If I don't get this job, it's going to be good for me. If I can't get married, it's going to be good for me. If I have kids, it's going to be good for me. If they die, it's going to be good for me. If this is going to be good for me. Everything's really good, right? You're really, really, really positive about things. Everything is there. I'm trying to work with Allah, and I know that Allah is on my side. Everything's going to work out really, really well. Even if something bad happens, it's good, right? That's one thing. The other thing is, oh, I have plenty of time, right? So next week I'm going to do this, and afterwards I'm going to do that. Habibi, are you going to be alive next week? Right? So this is what we're talking about. This is called tul al-amal, which is, oh yeah, I have ages. Yeah, I can work that out afterwards. I can make Toba later, you know? It's not a problem. I'll do that afterwards. You can't do that afterwards. You have to do the number one thing, do it now, because you don't know that you're going to be alive tomorrow or this afternoon, right? And so this is a very important way to think is I'm I don't expect to be alive. So what do I need to change now? What do I need to do? What do I need to do now? If this is the last 5 minutes of my life, the last minute of my life, do I want to be doing this? Right? And the shaitan, he what does he do is he comes to us and he either makes us do haram things or makruh things or suboptimal things. Right? And the number one place where we do suboptimal things is the screen. Right? We're there and you're listening to the lecture by Sheikh so and so. And so the shaitan's very happy because you're listening to Sheikh so and so give a talk, which is something good. But he only got you to do it because there's something else that's a priority. And if you died, you'd be like, SubhanAllah, I wish I could have just done this. Wish I could have done that instead. Right? There's so many little things that you could have done. Right? And so it's very important. Things with other people, things you could have told other people, things you could have done for other people, things you could have said to other people, things you could have done in your worship, the way you worked, right? Like now I'm now dead. I wish I could have changed the way that I worked, right? I wish I could change the way I parented. I wish I could change the way um, I put my dishes in the sink, right? Like I wish I could change these little small things, the way I went to the bathroom and left the bathroom, because now I'm dead and I can't go back, right? And there's no way you could ever go back, right? So this is what we're talking about is you don't imagine you have time to change. This is all you have. All that's guaranteed is the now. To, there's no guarantee that this class you're going to be alive at the end of this class, right? And that's how it is. Um, Khair. And then one of the big things in relationships, I wish I could have been a better, whatever it is, husband, wife, son, father, mother, right? Like I wish I could have done that in a better way. Wish I could have changed the way I did those things. Now that I'm dead, I can't change it, right? So it's this is what we're talking about. So it says, for Anas ibn Malik, he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هذا ابن آدم وهذا أجله ووضع يده عند قفاه ثم بسط يده فقال ثم أجله ثم أجله وثم أمله. He says, the Prophet ﷺ said, this is man, and this is his death. He gave a physical example. He placed his hand on his neck, and he stretched out his arm out and said, his death is here, and his expectation is here. So, where's his death? It's right behind him. And he's thinking, oh, when I die, this is going to happen. His arm is extended. He's thinking he's going to be alive in 10 years. You're not going to be alive in 10 years. He's thinking, oh, tomorrow this is going to happen. You're not going to be alive tomorrow. Right? So the way we live life is subhanAllah, even with myself, sometimes if I'm so busy, I know that when I get really, really busy, like I'm actually living in tomorrow. Like I'm already thinking it's tomorrow because my mind is going into like, okay, if that's going to happen, then this, then this, then this, and this. You're living in tomorrow, but you're forgetting about the now, right? So yes, you have to plan, you have to be responsible, but you have to say, if I were to die today, what would I have wish I could change? I don't know. Okay, go back and change it, right? Go back and change it, right? So this is Ebenezer Scrooge, right? What could I change? If only I could go back and change. Look at this, look at this, look at this. What could I go back and change? I wish I would had never done that. I wish I had done this, etc. Right? Okay, so this is the way that we should think. Don't think you're going to be alive tomorrow. Plan, take the means, the practical means that if you're going to live tomorrow and the next day, that's fine. But you say, if I die today, what could I wish I could have changed? And then go and change it now. And then he says, um, Hassan, this is Hassan al-Basri, right? Hassan al-Basri and the great tabi'een and the great scholars of fiqh and tafsir and other things and the great zuhad of the people who taught us of the way of how the proper way to look at the dunya. He said اجتمع ثلاثة نفر فسأل بعضهم بعضا عن أمله فقال أحدهم لم يأتي علي شهر إلا ظننت أني أموت فيه فقال إن هذا لأملا قال آخر يوم قال هذا أمل فقيل الآخر فقال يأمل من أجله بيد غيره. Right. So he says, three people met and they discussed about having unrealistic expectations of living for a long time. That's what he means. One of them said, SubhanAllah, every month I plan to die, right? He says, no month passes, but I think that I will die in it. That's how I'm thinking. Like, this is my last month alive, right? So I change, I think about my behavior, how I talk, how I walk, how I spend my time, because this is my last month alive, right? And he was told, wow, you've got some mighty expectations there, right? You're thinking you've got ages, right? He was shocked because you're thinking, I'm looking at things in the proper way. He says, no, إن هذا لا إن هذا إن هذا لأملا, right? The Arabic here was a bit off because it should be إن هذا لأمل. Not sure why. Not sure why it's there. Allahu A'lam. Maybe we could check the manuscript or something. But anyway, he's saying, wow, you really think you're going to live a long time, right? So the second one said a day. And he too was told, this is expectation here. You're still thinking, oh, I'm going to be around for a long time. When the last person was asked, he said, I have the expectation of someone whose death is in someone else's hands. So imagine, for example, this person, you're walking around, there's somebody who's totally lost it. This guy is like high on drugs and is like in and out of like thinking. And he's like giggling, he's getting angry, and he's like totally psycho. Okay. And you can't reason with him. Okay. And he just like every day he kills somebody. And he just plays this game where he just shoots them at different times. It's kind of fun. Like the guy's psycho. And he has a gun to your head. You have no idea when you're going to die. You have no idea when you're going to die. So he says, that's how I think. I think of a person who my death is not in my control. My life and death is in someone else's hands, Allah, right? And that's how I process things. I'm like, I'm not in control. All I have is the now, so I have to use the now for the most useful thing possible, and that's all I have because I don't know when I'm going to die. Just gets, when it gets, it's like that, right? So if you think about it, right, for many of us, it would be a religiously mature and spiritually mature thing to say, hey, I'm driving to work. Driving is dangerous. This may be my last 5 minutes, right? But in reality, you're already thinking, you're already off in that you think you have 5 minutes, right? So it's a good thing. Say, are we going to work today? This may be the last time I see anybody. I'm going to work. Why am I going to work? Think about it, because I might die on this journey to work, right? When in reality, you're already behind. You're already thinking you have more time than you do because you only have the now, right? You only have the now. Right? And it was Ajib, subhanAllah, Imam Ghazali, somebody wrote a letter to Imam Ghazali and they said, Imam Ghazali, you're an Imam, you're a Sheikh, you talk about this stuff, right? You write about these things. And he says, like I want some advice. So Imam Ghazali writes back to him and says, actually, I talk, but I don't walk. Like I talk the talk, but I don't walk the walk. Imam Ghazali himself, he says, I still have this issue where I still believe I have time. I've spoken to myself from every single angle, and I talk to myself from this point of view and that point of view, but I still have this disease, which is, oh, you have time, don't worry. You have time, don't worry. You have time, don't worry. Right? Okay, so now you can now help me understand this. Should I not relax then? Should you never relax? Like if you think that you could die at any minute, does that mean you should just like worship nonstop? What do you think? Okay. Relaxing can be the best thing, right? So so a man, for example, was praying. It was Isha, okay? And he was praying after Isha and just praying rak'ah after rak'ah after rak'ah. And then he got very tired. He said, you know what? I'm gonna lie down. And then he died. So now we asked the question, Aman, you are now dead. Would you wish to go back and not have rested? He says, yes, I could have pushed myself more. Okay. So when you're too easy on yourself, that's not good. When you're too easy, you could have done more, Habibi. You didn't need to rest. You could have pushed yourself more, right? But at the same time, sometimes the nafs, the ego, says, no, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this, right? And it's not the best thing to do. Like you need to go and rest. And alhamdulillah, you died in your sleep. That sleep was better for you than anything else. Because why? You slept for the sake of Allah, right? I always, I like wolves. Okay, I like wolves. I have this weird connection. I don't know what it is. My nafs likes the Arctic. I have no idea. I think it's like ridiculously cold and crazy. But anyway, I like wolves. I like Arctic wolves. So I remember once, right? Like sometimes I'll sit down and watch TV with my kids for the sake of my kids, right? That's something else. That's ibadah, right? But I remember specifically once being really, really stressed, right? And just sitting down and just watching something on Arctic wolves, right? And so there's a certain time like you need to do nothing. And you need to do nothing for the sake of Allah, right? Not you need to do nothing for the sake of Allah, astaghfirullah. You need to do nothing. And why do you need to do nothing? For the sake of Allah. Like literally, you need to lie down and put your feet up and just do nothing. Because that's what your body needs right now. And you're doing that for the sake of Allah. And if you were to die in that process, you'd be dying doing the good thing. Right? You need to sleep and you shouldn't pray. You need to break the fast and you shouldn't be fasting. You need to whatever it is, have another scone, right? Do we have anybody here from England who will like scones, right? Yeah. So like have another scone. Like why? I need to do ibadah. So, yeah, but eat it and say Alhamdulillah. And the last thing you did was choke on a scone, right? But you were like, I really like you just thank you Allah. They actually have scones here and they're really nice, right? So these little things, right? There's many things where people get intense and actually intense for the wrong reason. So they'll say this, the ulama, they say sometimes you'll see somebody when he becomes more religious, he does less worship. Like that doesn't make any sense. How can you be more religious if you do less worship? Because half of it was just an ego trip, right? You're just trying to compete with that man. You're just trying to ask him that you were religious, all right? You're just trying to prove to yourself some kind of thing. It's like, bro, chill. Like you're not, you know, just connect with Allah, do the best you can. When you need to sleep, sleep. When you need to rest, rest. Do what you can. Don't go into the psycho thing, right? Seeking secret knowledge. I have to do every course possible, right? And it's like, why are you doing that? Are you doing that because you want to apply and change in your life? And this is important for the sake of Allah. Are you doing this because it's some kind of like a nuts thing, like I have to achieve, I have to know, right? So it's an important thing to think about. So downtime is part of worship if it's for the sake of Allah, but it's very fine between lazy and downtime. It's not the same. Second donut, was it for the sake of Allah or was it for the sake of the nafs? You have to weigh it very carefully. And what is the acid test? The acid test is when you have that second donut. Do you want the third? Oh boy, I want the third. Okay, Habibi, that means you're going, this is a nafs trip. You're just following your nafs. This is not ibadah. Whereas, alhamdulillah, I had the second donut. I don't need a third. I'm not interested in the donut anymore. I've taken what my nafs needs and I can move on. As opposed to, I just want more. It's become an addiction, right? Oh, I just need to watch 2 minutes of YouTube about wolves. And Habibi, you're there for 4 hours. You needed 4 hours of watching wolves. I don't think you needed that. I don't think most people need that. You need to just a little bit of a rest, right? You don't need that much, right? So it's a balance, right? But again, think, would you, if you died now, would you be happy doing it, right? That's the question. If you died now, would you want to go back and change it? No. Okay, go ahead. Have that other donut, have that rest, relax, go and walk in the park, go and look at the flower, sit and do nothing, right? If you'd be happy dying doing that. But if not, may Allah protect us. And then says Abdul Mutawakkil Al-Naji, he said, أخذ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم 3 أعواد فغارز عودا بين يديه والآخر إلى جنبه فأما الثالث فأبعده فقال أتدرون ما هذا؟ قالوا الله ورسوله أعلم قال إن هذا الإنسان وذاك الأجل وذلك الأمل يتعاطاه ابن آدم ويختلجه الأجل دون ذلك. So he says, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ took 3 sticks. He planted a stick in front of him and another next to it. And he stuck the third far away. He said, do you know what this is? They said, no, Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, this is man, and this is his death. And that far stick over there, that's his expectations. The man pursues. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But death will seize him way before that. Right? So when I get married, I'm going to start wearing hijab. Right? When I'm financially stable, I'm going to start doing the halal. Right? When I'm settled in my career, I'm going to start praying Jum'ah. Right? This is the attitude. Habib, you're going to die before that. Right? So do what you need to do now and make the changes you need to make now because it's all you have. Right? Life is so many people, they live outside of their situation, right? Let's say teenagers, right? We don't have any teenagers here, do we? But like a teenager, that's how they live life, right? They're like, when I'm older, I'm going to do this. They're living, they're trying to achieve something they haven't achieved yet, and they're living in like 2 to 3 years ahead of them. Like when I do this, when I do this, everything now is wrong. The current, it needs to change, right? And this is how Allah created them because they're a developing individual, right? But there's only one time in your life when you're 13. There's only one time in your life when you're 23. There's only one time in your life when you're 33. There's only one time in your life when you're in the airport and the baby just threw up on you. Right? You're only going to have that chance that now. And you're like, all these, you're thinking about something else. It's like, this is life. This is the time to show Allah what you've got. There's no other time. There's no other test. Right? When the real test comes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. This is what you have. This is it. This is the situation you're in. Right? Don't live somewhere else. When I go on Umrah, I'm going to do a khatam of the Quran. This is your life now. Do what you can now. When this happens, when the Mahdi comes, I'm going to change. Right? And so you have the now and that's it. So look at your life now. Think about everything that's wrong and say, astaghfirullah, this. And now let's think about practical, realistic changes you can do right now. When they're unrealistic, you know that's nafs as well. And the shaitan's trying to mess you up as well. Okay. Okay. And here it says Ibn Abi Dunya in Qasr al-Amal. So Ibn Abi Dunya, he is at the time of he's after Abdullah Mubarak. He's at the time of in the 3rd century with these many hadith collectors like Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, etc. All of his books, basically, all of his books are to do with raqa'iq. He has tons of books to do with how you should change. So he has his book specifically dedicated to Qasr al-Amal, right? He has a book specifically dedicated to being hungry, a book specifically dedicated to, I don't know, various different topics to do with these kind of things. But given what I said in the beginning of the class, how strong do you think the hadiths are in his books? How reliable do you think this hadith is going to be? Not very strong at all, right? So if you can imagine, Osama, you finished college, right? Okay, so in college, right? But when you were at college or right, you're in college now, okay? You write a paper, right? And you have to make references, correct? Yes. So can you quote Wikipedia or ChatGPT? No. Okay. You need a thorough source, right? If you're going to do an Instagram post, do you have to quote? Do you have to quote anything? Like if you did an Instagram post, 90% of people in my shoes are not making the money that I'm making. Do you have to put a reference on Instagram? Or is it okay just to share things in a casual way? Right? You don't need a reference. So the same thing, right? Reference or no reference, I'm talking about a concept we all know, which is we should all live life as if we're going to die any minute. We already know that. So then Ibn Abi Dunya makes a collection of quotes, hadiths, quotes from the Prophet ﷺ, Sahaba, Tabi'een, maybe from former prophets we have no reference to whatsoever, and just stories from previous prophets, put it together, and these are things to reflect on. It's like an Instagram post versus this is your paper, this is your no, this is a paper you're writing in college. This is a PhD thesis, and you're quoting ChatGPT, Habibi, right? That is not a reference, right? Can you understand? So the what you're trying to do with the information affects the kind of reliability of it. So when you come to halal and haram, okay, what's your reference, Habibi? What's your source? Does that make sense? So now what happened today? Somebody comes along and says, you quoted a hadith and it's not in Bukhari Muslim, it's not this, it's not that. It's weak. Why are you sharing it? That's very normal. That's very, very normal. Here, Ibn Abi Dunya, his books are full of weak hadiths, right? Imam Ahmad has a book like this. It's called Kitab al-Zuhud by Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. I would say 95% of the hadiths are weak. So you are the teacher of Imam Bukhari. Like, what happened there? It's like Imam Bukhari has the same system as me. When we're working in this kind of genre, we do this kind of thing. We work in that kind of genre, we do that kind of thing. It's two different things, right? Imam Ahmad was asked about Ibn Ishaq, the author of the Seerah. He said, what do you think about Muhammad Ishaq? He said, oh, for those kind of stuff, it's fine. Meaning Seerah, yeah, it's fine. He's fine, don't worry about it. When it comes to halal, haram, oh, that's something else, right? I'm trying to prove a different kind of thing, okay? Important to understand. Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, إنما أخشى عليكم اثنين طول الأمل واتباع الهوى يا رب. Right? This is 125,000% the internet. 125,000%, right? The internet. فإن طول الأمل ينسي الآخرة وإن اتباع الهوى يصد عن الحق وإن الدنيا قد ارتحلت مدبرة والآخرة مدبرة not مدبرة. It doesn't have to be, it could be either. Right? It could be مدبرة or مدبرتان. لكل واحدة منهما بنون فكونوا من أبناء الآخرة ولا تكونوا من أبناء الدنيا فإن اليوم عمل ولا حساب وغدا حساب ولا عمل. Right? So he says, there's two things that I fear for you. Unrealistic life expectations. I'm going to be alive tomorrow. I'm going to be alive in 10 years, in 20 years, this. And pursuing vain folly, stupidity, right? Hawa is used in two ways in Arabic. It's used to mean, it's used to be, they use it in their time, not their time, but a little bit later, they'll use it for aqidah issues. Ahlul hawa is people have stupid aqidah issues, like, oh, there's no such thing as predestination, right? Allah's like me, he's a big man in the sky, right? This is called hawa, right? Like it's wrong. But it means basically doing something that you know is dumb, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like I'm going to climb this mountain with no rope, right? Or I'm going to go and slap this police, get this on live on Instagram. I'm going to go do a prank on a policeman and run away. It's like, do you think that's a good thing to do? No. Would you advise somebody else to do it? No. Okay, why'd you do it then? Huh? So they would often use it for vain love, right? Like you're never going to marry that person, right? So the poets will use that. Oh, you fell in love with so and so. Do you think she's going to marry you? No. Okay, so like you're just going in a direction that it achieves nothing. It achieves nothing. Why? It's just hawa, right? So you're just looking at stuff. It's like that doesn't lead to anything. There's no logic to it. It's like opposite of aql, right? وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, right? He stops himself from doing dumb things. That's a dumb thing to do. Why would you do that? Right? That's hawa, right? So these are two things Sayyidina Ali is saying is you think you're going to live forever, and then as a consequence, you imagine you have time to do dumb things, look at dumb things, think about dumb things, right? And this is exactly the entertainment business. So the entertainment business is this what it does. It's just like just take you away from the current ways you are now, make you live in another world, right? Music, make you live in another world, right? Attractive actors, make you live in another world, right? Suddenly, right, you're watching James Bond. Suddenly, James Bond, as a female, James Bond is on your radar. Do you think he'd be interested in you, sister? No, but it's nice to think about it. Do you think the Bond girl will be interested in you, brother? No. So, what's the whole point of just like looking at somebody like that? Where does it lead you? Nowhere. It's pointless. Okay, why are we doing it then? Right? This is how it works. Like it's just a fancy. It's just like you're living in this fake world. It's not real. It doesn't achieve any benefit. It's just fake. So you're following pursuing vain desires that don't achieve anything for you. And you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be alive. Habibi, you're going to be dead very soon. Have 2 feet on the ground and find out how you're going to sort things out for yourself on Judgment Day. Right? Do what is logical. Aql, right? Aql is tying yourself down and saying, this is what is right, right? Uh, okay. So it's high expectations make you forget the next life, right? As opposed to continue thinking, I'm doing this now, Judgment Day. 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 You keep remembering, right? Judgment Day. And pursuing vain, stupid desire bars one from the truth. You're not with the haqq, you're just with stupidity, right? This world is retreating, it's already going, and the next world is already advancing, right? So this is how we have to live life. It's like the plane is landing. That's your life. The plane is landing. It's not the plane is taking off, the plane is landing. That's it. Like the flight is over, right? So this world is retreating, the next world is advancing. Each of them has followers, followers of this life and followers of the next life. Okay? So there's a person sitting next to you, and he has strapped on his what's it called? You're in an airplane. That plane is about to land, right? All the lights are on. They put the wheels out, and he's put on his what's it called? He's put on his jumpsuit. He's gonna jump out of the airplane with his parachute. And you look at him, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Habibi, but are you mentally retarded? Because like we're about to land. Like this it. It's over already. Like we're about to land. The wheels are out. It's just gonna be da da da, and you're right. You land right. And he's about to, so he's thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna jump out and I'm gonna do this spin and do that. He has a whole plan of like, I don't know where your head is. Like we already landed. I mean, we're about to land. It's just like a minute. I mean, or 30 seconds. And he's thinking about, oh, in 2 minutes, I'm gonna get asked permission, and they're suddenly gonna allow you to jump out of the window, which they would never do, and then you're gonna fall for ages. So you're thinking this person's insane. He's just not here. He's not understanding what's going on. Just is not on planet Earth. And that is how 99.99% of the people on the earth live. And so we have to take ourselves away from that way of thinking. That is wrong way of thinking. We don't listen to people who talk like that, or people who buy things in those kind of ways, or people who think about relationships in those kind of ways. Because these people are diseased, they're mentally diseased. They're like, Habibi, it's all over. We're all dying, and we're about to get off the plane. Are you ready? Have you filled out have you done whatever you need to do? Have you tried to start repairing things? Because you don't have time to, oh, it's going to be fun jumping out the airplane. We've already landed. Why are you thinking about jumping out the airplane? Why are you thinking about they even going to let you get out there? Like you're not being logical. You're living in la la land, right? Yasudduhu an al-haq. It stops him from the truth, right? Each of these people have followers. So be the followers of the people at Akhirah. Be the person that this is how I think, this is how I process, this is what I do, how I do things. How you walk, talk, dress, buy. How you use the internet, how you use the phone, right? And do not be followers of capital T, capital W, this world. Today there is action without reckoning. You're going to do things, good things or bad things, and you've just got this time. No one's going to stop you from doing good or doing bad. But tomorrow there's reckoning with no action. You're going to have the reward and you're not going to have to do any hard work. Or you're going to have to answer for all the bad things you did and you're not going to be able to correct it in any way. There's nothing you can do about it. There's no way you can go back and say, I'm sorry to somebody. There's no way. There's nothing you can do. There's no way you can make up for that time. It doesn't exist. Okay. Anas ibn Malik narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Yahlaku halaka yahlik, halaka yahliku." It should be yahlik, not halaka yahlaku. Where's my pencil? يهلك ابن آدم أو قال يهرم ابن آدم ويبقى منه اثنتان الحرص والأمل. So it says the son of Adam gets old, not is destroyed. He gets old, right? You're getting older and older and older, right? Half of us, we're in the second half of our life if we're going to live long enough, right? Half of us, we're like, you're on the other side. So I always tell everybody, your life is from the age of 10 to 20. That's it. That's your life. Most people, they don't wake up. They wake up at best at the end of that, right? At best, right? If they wake up at all, right? But your life is from 10 to 20. That means all of us, it's all gone. Those golden years from 10 to 20, that's gone. That's gone a long time ago. Now we're just trying to repair, right? Everything you missed out on that time, 10 to 20, right? So you get older and older and older, you get weaker, right? It's harder for you to do things. You have less energy, you have less patience, you have less. But yet, in spite of the obvious signpost that you're getting older, right? You still want al-hirs al-amal. I want more. I want more. I want more money. I want more fame. You're 55, sister, and you dress like a 16-year-old, or you're trying to dress like a 16-year-old. Sister, just age gracefully, please, right? Brother, you're dressing like a teenager, just trying to be cool. You're trying to be cool at 60. What's your problem? Or even younger than that, like trying to be cool. Like, I have to achieve. I got to get this. I want this. I want this. Why? This is called hirs, avarice for money, and greed for achievement, for looks, for popularity, for whatever it is. Like, just grow up, please. Well, amal, oh, I'm going to live, this is going to happen. It's not real. So every single one of us, locked down. You're past 20, locked down. Okay, I've messed up. Okay, but let's lock down now. Let's capitalize on the fact that you've messed up. Capitalize on the fact that you look back at the age of 10 to 20, like, yeah, that was a bit of a joke. Capitalize on that. Like, it's clear, it's obvious. Lock down and focus on priorities now, right? As opposed to stupidity, right? You're going here and you're going there, right? So you want more of the dunya, you're not going to have more of the dunya. It doesn't work like that. And you think you're going to live forever, you're not going to live forever. Just try and do what is good in the short time that you have, right? Try and do what is good in the short time that you have here. And then just a hadith point here, it says it's in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, 12. This is the Sheikh Shu'aib Arnaout's edition of the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. That doesn't make it sahih though, but it does mean I can research and find out at least the idea, right? And this is in Sunan Nasa'i as well, in the Kubra. So Nasa'i has two books. He has the Kubra and the Sughra. The Sughra is about 5 to 6,000 hadiths, and the Kubra is about 11,000 hadith, right? Well, here mentions, look, 11,000, right? So somewhere near the end, right? And that does make it sahih, by the way, right? Okay. Abu Ubaidullah narrated that Abu Darda said, لا يزال نفس أحدكم شابة في حب الشيء ولو التفت تر ولو التقت ترقوتاه من الكبر إلا إلا الذين امتحن الله قلوبهم للآخرة وقليل ما هم. He says, people, one's soul is ever blazing with love of possessions. You just want things, right? You want things. Now, I just want to make a point about generosity between young people and old people. Okay, so who's usually more generous, young people or old people? Old people are usually more generous. It's possible. Anybody else? Really, old people are more generous. Okay. Sometimes old people stingy. Okay. So in my experience, and I'm not the world, what I've noticed is that young people are more generous than older people. Okay. Why is that the case? So you're 16 and you don't have any expenses and you have lots of energy, right? So you go to school. After school, you go to karate. After karate, you do badminton. After badminton, you do judo. After judo, you go to your friend's house. And then you wake up at 6 a.m. and then you have a job on the weekend and you make $20 an hour. And $20 an hour is fantastic. You worked for 8 hours. You come out with $160. That's amazing. And you just go and spend it all, right? So you're very happy to share it with people, right? Right? You're very happy to share it with people because it's so easy to get money, right? Because you have so much strength and so many abilities, right? So much ability, right? You often find people like that, okay? And then as you get older, you realize, dude, $20 an hour is actually nothing. I actually can't do anything with $20 an hour. And so I'm going to be stingy, meaning I'm not going to spend and I'm going to spend on other people. And because I need to pay for this and I need to pay for that. And it's also very hard to work because I'm older and I don't have the energy. So you become more stingy, right? Both of these things are not are wrong. Okay. Both of these things are wrong. What's happening with the young person is he's looking at his own ability and his own, um, he's looking at himself, which is the dunya, and he's saying, I can make money and make more money, so therefore I'm going to give. That's not generosity. Generosity is Allah sent me money so I can share with others. Okay? So the young person who acts like that, that is not generosity, and that's not something noble. Excuse me. He's looking to himself, not looking to Allah. Similarly, the older person who's like, no, I'm not going to spend that $5. I'm not going to do this, not going to do this. It's the same thing. So they're looking to themselves again and saying, yeah, I'm weak now. It's hard to make money. It's limited. So they're being stingy for the same thing, right? And sometimes it's stingy, meaning you really don't need this money, right? You do the maths, like you're fine without it, but they still won't do that because then they start to worry, etc., all these different kind of things. Okay. So, um, he says basically people become want to love things more, right? But real generosity is the generosity of the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is the generosity of the believer, which is you are there and you're standing looking at this ocean, which is Allah's power and Allah's generosity. It is unlimited. So you have no, apart from practical reasons, you have no reasons to hold back, right? I make X amount of money. I have to pay X amount of money at the end of the month to so and so. Therefore, I'm going to save it for so and so. I'm not being stingy. I'm just giving the person the money that he deserves. right? That's two different things. As opposed to, oh my God, where's the money going to come from? And I don't want to spend it on this person. And any expenses are like, it's like you don't, as long as you're giving it in the haqq, you don't mind, right? As long as you give it in the haqq, you don't mind. Because you see that Allah is infinite in power. He can make money come from nowhere, and He does regularly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is infinitely generous and has no limit on what He can give, right? So anyway, so he says one. So the person is now this his love of possessions. I want cool cars. I want to be famous. I want to have good looks. I want to achieve. Right. This thing about achieving. Right. I really have to achieve. There's a big thing. It manifests in many different ways. Right. I have to achieve. I have to achieve. It achieves, for example, in the Talib Ilm. I have to memorize Quran. I have to study this book. I have to know this. So they want to be somebody who knows. You shouldn't want to be somebody who knows or want to be somebody who has memorized. You should want to be somebody who is dedicated to Allah. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between somebody I want to achieve in my learning and I want to achieve in my Quran memorization as opposed to I want to serve Allah. There's a big difference between the two things, right? So this person, he says, even though he's so old that his clavicle bones have become crooked, right? He's still like, I want this, I want this, I want this, right? So again, I don't mean to pick on sisters, but it's like, is this 80-year-old? It's like, you're wearing makeup. Sister, why'd you have to wear makeup? What are you holding on to? What are you holding on to? Right? Or the way that you dress, the way that you carry yourself, it's like odd. Like, why are you doing that? You have a nice car. Habibi, sell your nice car, buy an acceptable car, give the difference in charity. You don't need it. Buy a car that works. I'm not saying buy a rubbish car. Buy a car that works. But you don't need to have a Ferrari. You're 80 years old. You're 70 years old. You don't need a Ferrari. Sell the Ferrari to me, and um, and the difference for something. Use it for something good. You only have this much time left, right? Okay. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ امْتَحَنَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ لِلْآخِرَةِ Save those who Allah has tested for the next life. But they are very, very few, right? So this person again. What does it mean, the akhirah? It's like, it's already sat in my head. The plane is landing. The wheels are out. Let go. Let go. That's what it is. That's what we're talking about. Let go. And you have these 30 seconds, 1 minute. Yeah, what can I do in this next 30 minutes? 1 minute left. That's all we're interested in doing, right? Ibn Abi, I think this is Najih, not Nujayh. Somebody can ask Sheikh ChatGPT. I'm pretty sure this is Najih and not Nujayh. Okay. Wallahu a'lam. Narrated that Mujahid, so these are the Meccan scholars, Mujahid, the student of Ibn Abbas, he said, or someone else said, not really sure, he said, لما هبط آدم إلى الأرض قال له ربه عز وجل ابني للخراب ولد للفناء. When Adam descended to earth, his Lord said to him, build, expecting that your building, okay, expecting your building will be destroyed. So when you're going to invest, right, right? Many of you been in the situation. Should we buy a house? Should we not? You save, you get up the down payment, you do this, you do this, you do this. When you buy that house knowing that the house is going to be destroyed, right? Allah told us the judge it will destroyed, right? So if it was destroyed tomorrow, would you be happy with all the efforts that you did? Yes. I built an orphanage for the sake of Allah, it was destroyed. I built a house for myself to live in, to give stability to myself, and it was destroyed by an earthquake the next day. I am happy because I did it for the sake of Allah. So build knowing that it's gonna disappear. Lid, beget, procreate, get married, have children, knowing that your husband, your wife, your children, they're all going to be dead very soon. So on your wedding day, you did all these haram things because it's fun and da 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 da. Well, if you're going to be dead tomorrow, would you do those things? Like all you have to say for yourself is you got drunk at your wedding. You did something stupid at your wedding. And here are the pictures that you have. and then you died the next day. But you get married anticipating that the next day your wife, your husband, you will not be alive. You give birth expecting that the next day your child will be dead. So you interact with the child on that basis. You interact with the cat, with the car, right? Now here's the acid test. You buy a new car, again, I have to have another class. You buy a new car and then it gets a scratch. How do you feel? Good or bad? You feel bad, right? Like, saved up for that nice what was it? Porsche Carrera, and you just scratched my car. Don't talk to me, please. Just back off. So when you are attached to things, you care about things like so. If you bought the car for the sake of Allah, it doesn't matter if it's scratched or not. You bought a good newish car because last your car was a joke and it caused so many problems and it broke down with your grandma in the car and it was a whole mess, right? So no, this time I'm going to buy a good, buy a good car, maybe a newer car, maybe a new car, whatever it is going to be. And but then it gets scratched or then it breaks down. That doesn't matter because you don't care about it. I'm not interested in the car itself. But when you're interested in the car itself, that's called hubb dunya. You love the dunya, right? I remember I had a jubba I really liked it. And then it got caught this tiny little scratch and it got this caught. So there was a whole line in it where the thread was off. And I was like, ah. It's like that's called love of dunya, habibi. Right? It's called love of the dunya. You love that thing for itself. As opposed to you buy these clothes with no intention of it ever arriving at your house. Why did you order those clothes from Amazon? With no intention of ever arriving at my house ever. That's irrelevant. Why did you propose to this person? I'm never going to marry them. And if you marry them, you're never going to be with them. And if you're going to be with them, you're never going to have kids. And if you have kids, they're never going to survive because you did it for the sake of Allah. Right? You did it for the sake of Allah. That's the acid test. You made that food, and then the people turned up and they didn't like it, or they didn't even turn up. Why did you make the food? Did you make the food to impress people? Or did you make the food for the sake of Allah? If you did it for the sake of Allah, it doesn't matter if they turn up or not. Who cares? It all got burnt. It tastes horrible. No, that's not your intention, right? I'm trying to memorize Quran and I just can't finish this juz. Habibi, are you doing this to achieve and be the hafid, or are you doing this to be the person who loves Allah and loves His words, right? So this is a very, key thing. Build anticipating it's going to break down tomorrow, and you have the right intention, and you are the right. But what am I doing, and why am I doing it? Right? What are you doing? You marrying this person? Why? Because she's good looking, because he's famous, because people like him, because people like her, because they're going to be dead tomorrow. Don't think like that. Think this person's going to be that I died. This is the best thing I ever did. The last thing I ever did was this. Right, go ahead, Azhar, and then we have to stop, inshallah.
Sheikh, like you said, we should anticipate everything breaking down. But there's another hadith which says Allah is as how we expect Him to be, right? So how do we reconcile with having a lot of hope and having not much hope in the same time?
Yeah, so we mentioned that in the beginning that you are super positive about everything. The net result will be good. The specifics are not going to go for a long time. So the point is your hope and desire tied to you finishing your medical degree or becoming a doctor or becoming a consultant or retiring? Is that your hope and desire, or is your hope something else? Right? The other thing is about that I have a good opinion of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make everything work out for me. The details I don't know. I will die in my med school, or I will live through med school and I will graduate with amazing grades. And it will be easy for me to do this and it will help me. So you have a good opinion in general. Does that make sense? Like Allah will make everything work out. As for the specifics, I leave it to Him because He's so generous. Does that make sense? As opposed to, so the issue with amal is your hopes and expectations and fears are tied to the end results of those things, as opposed to Allah. Does that make sense, Azhar?
Yeah, Sheikh, understand. Sheikh.
So you do the exam, and I'll give you an example. You do an exam, okay? So imagine, for example, you do a test, the job that you're applying for will automatically receive the results. Okay? So you don't need to know the results. So then those results are going to come out at 2 a.m. tonight. And so you wake up at 2 a.m. and check. It's like, Habibi, why did you do the test to get results? Why did you do the results to the job? Why are you doing the job? Because, I need to provide for my family. Why do you provide for family? Because Allah asked me to do that. Okay. So why are you going to wake up at 2 a.m. to check the results? Why are you going to check the results anyway? If all the practical things are already done, you studied for the test. The test was you studied for the test. You submitted the test. The test results are going to go to the company who are going to either hire you or not based on the test results. You don't need to know. So now, why are you finding out? Because you are addicted, right? Because you want to find out. Because you hubb dunya. It's called love of the dunya. What's going on, right? You care about the Lakers game because of your son, or do you care about it for yourself? You're like really into like, oh, I want to see that thing one more time. As opposed to you playing the game, he's really into the Lakers game, and so you like, oh yeah, what did they show me again? And just for him, it's a totally different game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Inshallah. Okay, stop here. Inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.